Hey gang, it is that time of the week again. We had a lot of amazing interviews this week, actually some really good stuff. Saagar and I talked to Tulsi Gabbard, made some buzz, got some flack for that one. Yeah. We asked Congresswoman Gabbard if she identified as a nationalist, and this is what she had to say.
I think that's a word that has become very tainted, and it depends on who is saying it and what they mean by it.
Sure.
Look, my interest and my goal has always been and will continue to be, how can I best be of service to the American people and our country? I think it's important for us to be the kind of leader in the world engaging with other countries in a way that is positive, where we can be a force for good, rather than continuing the policies we've seen for so long of our country really trying to be the world's police.
What did you think of that?
Interesting answer from that. I still think she is a nationalist. I think so much of her, I mean, I know she doesn't want to say it because that's a very dicey situation for a Democrat to be in, but ultimately what is Tulsi's...
It's a loaded word.
Yeah, and guess what? This is what I was talking about in my monologue, which is Tulsi's obsessed with majoritarian politics. She wants to bring the country together. That's why she rejects some democratic orthodoxy that she thinks, which is a little bit too divisive, and she's about ending wars. I mean, this is a very Jacksonian foreign policy and domestic policy that has a long strain through American politics and has been gone for so long.
I will tell you, though, she did an interview with our friends Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper over at their podcast, which is great, Useful Idiots, by the way, Rolling Stone. And she talked not just about her Syrian experience as a medic in the Iraq War, stitching up the wounds of our men and women. She also talked about the third country nationals who were there and who were making next to nothing and cleaning up and cooking and, you know, and all. So it wasn't just solely about USA. It was about the impact of these wars on our country, on the world, on the citizens of those nations. So it was a little bit more of an international perspective than maybe you always see.
Well, no, we don't talk enough about the fact that, it's not just Americans that died in the Iraq War. It's actually a lot more
So many
Iraqis.
civilians.
Yeah, civilians. I mean, it was a disaster.
It was. Now, climate change, of course, has been front and central this week with the UN General Assembly and activist Greta Thunberg testifying before Congress. We had protests outside of our office all week. Living legend Dr. Jane Goodall also took the time to sit with me. I was so excited about this. She raised an interesting argument about the relationship between climate and capitalism. Take a
really not to carry on with business as usual. And we need to start working for the future and not for the next shareholders meeting or the next political campaign. And how you get that through to the leaders, you've got to find a way to reach the heart. And I don't think aggression does it. It just makes them angry and they're just thinking, well, we're not going to pay attention to this. We're just going to go on doing it, and to hell with them.
I look like a total giant next to her. That is a powerful woman, though. Like, you look in her eyes and you're like, there is so much going on there. But I asked her directly, is capitalism consistent with dealing with climate change? And she was like, no, that's what I just said. We can't have business as usual. I thought it was a pretty radical comment for someone who doesn't typically get political.
No, not at all. I mean, that's not what she is all about. But I appreciated it. I got to say, I love when people like that break the mold and they talk about their experience. And, I'm not saying I agree with Jane Goodall, but, she's got that special place in like every elementary school's heart, every elementary school kid's heart.
Yeah.
And so, it's very cool to see her talking about this.
You meet a few people in your life that you're like, that person is just on a different plane.
Right.
And she is 100% one of them.
It's pretty cool. Finally, we wanted to end the week on a fascinating comment from a Team Rising member, Chris Prudhomme. Here's what he had to say about 2020 candidate Andrew Yang.
I think he is very engaging. I think he's sincere and genuine. And it kind of reminds me of when you look at, in certain ways, when you look at President Trump in 2016, being the outsider, being the non-political person. I think there's a certain amount of authenticity that Andrew Yang has, and that resonates with people.
That panel.
Totally right.
That panel got people love. They watched a lot of that panel because it talked about this poll that Andrew Yang had come out where he's at 8%.
Beating Pete Buttigieg.
Beating Pete. And we asked the question, is this a turning point for his campaign? I really actually think it is. He's on the debate stage. Right. He looks set to make the even heightened criteria. And the media is finally taking him and treating him a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about divisive issues here. I mean, Chris was a Republican panelist, and every single time we talk about Yang, every single time, everybody here is like, yeah, I appreciate what he has to say. There isn't, there's criticism of UBI, there's criticism, but on a policy, but he really, more than any other candidate, does not bring the derision of Washington to this table, and that is so refreshing. I mean, I don't know, it's so unique to his candidacy, and it's something that has been missing from our politics for, I mean, it hasn't existed in my lifetime.
Well, in my interview with Andrew, he pointed out that there are two candidates who have more than 10% of Trump supporters who are backing them. It's Andrew and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And I think it's, it's interesting what that says about their crossover support, because they have very different styles.
Right.
They have very different sort of platforms and things that they focus on. Although I would say both of them are very laser focused on inequality and what that's doing to America. But they both have an authenticity, and they both are willing to be critical of the Democratic Party, and I think that's a very strong place to stand.
That's the biggest stand.
Strong place that's where I stand. Anyway, thank you guys. Enjoy the day, enjoy the weekend. Check us out tomorrow. We're going to answer some of your rising cues, so make sure you check in for that. And have a good day. We'll see you soon.